So my video about the last ditch effort to fix my air and fuel line issue on my 2002 Volkswagen TDI with an ALH motor. It's gotten a lot of views, and I'm getting a lot of questions about how do you normally diagnose where air is getting into the fuel line before you install your lift pump to, kind of mask wherever the air is really getting in that you can't fix. In my case, there's air getting in probably somewhere within the injection pump that's actually drawing the fuel out of the tank in normal circumstances on this vehicle. Where you would normally start for air in your fuel line on these vehicles, the first suspect item is this thermostatic T, if I remember the name correctly. It's this little plastic thing here. Pull out this clip, lift it up. The first issue is usually those O-rings. You won't necessarily be able to see that there's something wrong with the O-ring. Sometimes they're just leaking. So change out your fuel filter here. There'll be a new set of O-rings with the fuel filter, and when you put those on, a lot of times that will fix the air and the fuel line issue. And if it doesn't, well, you should be replacing your fuel filter fairly often in these things anyway. You're not out a whole hell of a lot. The other thing to do when you have that out is check and see if there's a crack somewhere in that plastic on this fitting itself. I've never had that issue. I have had O-rings be bad. I've never had a break in this piece of plastic. They say it's fairly common. I would suggest all of you having issues would go to TDI Club and check out the forums there and use the search on the forums to help diagnose this stuff. Fantastic website. There's 20 years of great information on these vehicles. If you're having an issue that you can't solve, YouTube is probably the wrong place to be looking. You should be looking there, and you'll get the most help from there. Unfortunately, with forums, you get a lot of bad info and people repeating the same things and not reading your original posts if you're there to ask questions. So I get it. Why people avoid them, but that's really the best place to go for more in-depth information about the concepts involved in this whole fuel system, everything. The other thing you do, of course, is check these lines for cracks and make sure everything's sealed at the ends. You can get little leaks here and there, but the truth is, if you don't have this stupid lift pump installed, your injection pump is actually drawing the fuel from the tank, and your fuel lines in a lot of respects are acting like vacuum lines at these connections, and so they're kind of sucking them in there and helping to prevent from drawing air in. They're kind of creating their own seal. Yes, you should still have the hose clamps on there, and yes, they can still draw air past that stuff if something else is going on. But generally, it does a pretty good job of keeping it from seals being broken on the ends, because it is creating a vacuum to draw that fuel out. Another issue that's common is in the fuel tank. You go to rear passenger side, stick your hand down in here, lift this up, sweep away all the old french fries and band-aids and stuff your kids have left in there, and hit these 3 Phillips head screws, pull this panel off. Then you have access to the fuel tank and the whole assembly there that draws fuel out. They used to call it a fuel sending unit. They got all sorts of stupid names for them damn things now. And definitely go to the forums for this. Maybe there's some YouTube video, I don't know. Go to the forums and kind of it'll explain how that whole assembly works. When the fuel dumps back in, it's kind of dumped back into a canister within the assembly, and sometimes there's some failures with little rubber flaps and stuff that prevent fuel from running back into the main tank out of that assembly. I've gutted that whole thing, and I have a normal draw straw in there because I've been battling this air in the fuel line for a long time. The only thing ever fixed it was that clickety-clack pump. And now I do have a small leak at my injection pump, I suppose, where it was drawing air before. Now, because of the lift pump added, it's pushing fuel out. And so I do have a small leak, but it only leaks about 1/10 of a gallon every fuel tank full, like every 400 miles, 500 miles, something like that. So it doesn't bother me, gets me to work every day on the cheap, and it's not worth my time to pull that injection pump right now. I'll deal with that at the next timing belt change. Anyway, I hope this was helpful to people that needed a little more explanation about where to start with air in the fuel line. Thank you.